All right, everybody. We are just waiting for everything to tune on up here. I think we should be almost ready to go. Let's see. All right. I see us. Do you see us?
I do.
All
Should
right.
I check Facebook to see if we're there?
Yeah, you can go ahead and share it. We're a few minutes early. Go figure.
Okay. Let's see. So I'm not overly technologically sophisticated. Let's see. Okay. Share.
Just look at my name.
I see ya. Okay. Share.
And you're Kansas City.
Public.
Kansas.
Got it. Oh, wow. This is really cool. There's a little lag I see.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't look at myself. I'll go back here.
Okay. So I'm starting a watch party as well. Now that's going to tune up. And then I'm going to have to quickly get this. Yeah.
Do I need to shut something off on our end? Do I need to shut off my audio or something maybe?
You don't really want to have Facebook open for the most part. I mean, you can, but not the active video.
Got it. Closed.
All right. Speaker view. Okay. It is almost 1 p.m. Eastern time. All right, let's see if we could get a few more people on Facebook. Hi, everybody. We are here talking investment opportunities in Kansas City. Which one, you ask? We're about to find out. You must get that question all the time, right?
Kansas City is a really unique place, and people don't know where you are. Are you in Kansas or are you in Missouri? And so I'm happy to kind of break that whole thing down too, because it's actually important to your investment and your buying or selling strategy.
Yes, exactly. So that is the question. So funny enough, when during the Super Bowl, I think, how many people would you say messed up where the Kansas City Chiefs were from?
I would say probably at least 50%. I mean, 50% which would be kind of the odds. Kansas we don't have a professional team. We don't have baseball. We don't have football. Everything is just, so to kind of give you an idea, I'm 4 or 5 miles from the state line, but everything that's Kansas City goes on the other side of the state line. And literally the road is called State Line Road.
Wow. You said 5 minutes or 5 miles?
5 miles.
5 miles. Wow. So there's Kansas City, Kansas, and there's Kansas City, Missouri.
Right.
Now, which state are you in?
So I'm in Kansas, but most of us locally wouldn't tell anybody that we had any relationship with Kansas City, Kansas. Kansas City, Kansas is the big kind of municipal local Kansas side city, and Kansas City, Missouri is the big municipal local Missouri size city. And everybody says they're in the Kansas City metropolitan area, and they use Kansas City, Missouri as their kind of their general hub. So I'm in a very large suburb. In fact, our suburb on the Kansas side is the second largest city in the state of Kansas.
Okay.
So, and there's a lot of action on the Kansas side.
Okay.
In Kansas City, and that goes back about 40 years.
I drove through the state from Indiana to California 16 years ago, and like tomorrow, and there was a tornado, and the car was like blowing kind of all over, and we didn't have a whole lot of stuff in it because we knew we were gonna be stopping along the way, so we shipped a lot of things. And we went to for a bathroom break or something, and we're like, what's going on? Why is it so windy? Meanwhile, it's like super sunny. And the guy goes, that's a tornado, just drive.
Well, they reported last night on the news, this was the first spring we've had with 0 tornadoes in Kansas.
Wow.
But people I've got some people moving here from Washington, D.C. right now, and they are literally terrified of tornadoes. And I told them, they're like, we have to have a basement. I'm FaceTiming them. This was 2 weeks ago. Where would we go for the storm? And I'm like, huh? He's like, the storm, Dorothy. And I'm like, oh my God, people around the world think that literally there's tornadoes every other day. And I go, I don't know. I guess you go in here or here. What do you mean you don't know? I said, I'm 42. I've never lived through a tornado. I don't know.
That's funny. But they've been close to you, right?
Yeah,
or
sure.
They're more Midwest. Okay. because I know in Indiana there would be some, close by, and they did hit, probably within 20 or 30 miles of the school. So,
The last really big tornado we had was in Joplin, Missouri, which is a couple of hours away.
Got it.
And it was devastating. I mean, it took down a lot. I mean, hospitals, shopping centers, all that kind of stuff.
God.
So I'm in Kansas City. I think Kansas City, Missouri itself's got about 500,000 people. Our metropolitan area is pushing 2 million or so, 1,000,008, something like that. And that's both sides of the state line. Most people kind of consider it to be a 3-county metro. So a 5-county, sorry, there's 2 counties in Kansas and 3 counties in Missouri. And I'm in one of the Kansas counties, and things are interesting. Your professional sports, your downtown mega hub is in Kansas City, Missouri, your zoo, your airport, which, by the way, we're getting a brand new $4 billion airport. So anybody wants to travel when traveling opens up, it's supposed to be open. We're going to be hosting the 2023 NFL draft. So it's supposed to open up just in time for the 2023 NFL draft.
Got it. I'll set my calendar.
Set your calendar if you're looking for a flight to Kansas City. But yeah, so we work, most of the agents that are doing much business work both sides of the state line here. Our business is pretty split 50-50 as far as, our buyers and sellers being in both sides of the state line. And as time has gone on, what happened was everybody in Missouri, a lot of people in Missouri left. During the 60s, there was a lot of problems with the school systems in Kansas City, Missouri, and the people that could afford to get out, they moved to Kansas. And over the last 40 years, the schools have gotten dramatically better. And so now Missouri's had its own kind of rebirth in its own suburbs that are outside of kind of the main core. So the city developed in a very strange way. Like everything around the airport is bean fields and has been since its inception, like 72 or 74.
Wow.
Because the city grew the opposite direction.
Got it. So what are people moving there for? Like what would an investor is going to buy, and then who's going to rent it?
So, and someone that's going to buy it, rent it from an investor that's coming here. We have a lot of out-of-town investors, a ton. And it has to do with price. You can come here and you can get a similar return that you're going to get in other markets for a much smaller investment, right? Where you purchase your property would depict who the renter is going to be, but we have very large employers here. We have Cerner, which is a very large medical software company. They employ 10,000 locally. We had Sprint, which is now T-Mobile, which at its peak had 25 or 30,000 people on their campus. Now there's, I think, 6,000 on their campus. Huge employer though still. Garmin, so the sport GPS watch, the GPS in the car. So Garmin is here. Honeywell has a large facility. There's a lot. We actually have a lot of jobs on both sides of the state line, and really big, high-paying jobs. I was at a Lawrence Yoon, so the chief economist for Realtors Association. He was in town in November, and he said that our average income locally is $58,000, which I think that's for an individual person, it's pretty good and competitive if you look at market wide. Obviously, that wouldn't get you maybe very far in New York or San Francisco, but for what you can get here, it's crazy. So what you buy as far as your investment here, it's going to depend on which municipality it's in, which schools it feeds into, if it's urban or suburban, and you get different renters. What's interesting is it's a really affordable place to own a home, but the rentals aren't affordable. So, I'm going to show you a single family home that you could buy for $70,000 and you can rent for $850 a month.
Wow.
Day one, and it's completely gutted. Now it's in a C location in kind of C+ schools, but the schools where we are so good that C+ is probably more like a B than it is a C+ compared to most places around the country. That's what Kansas City has really, the metropolitan area has really, really good schools.
Got it.
It's very affordable. We have good air transportation. We've got great food. There's lots of culture.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful place to live, not the most amazing place on earth to visit.
Okay. But people are coming there, like you said, for work or the school systems. How would you I don't know if you know, but how would you compare the school systems to other kind of Midwest regions, right? Are you considered Midwest, or what are you? The plain?
We're
Not-
considered Midwest, but my
Okay.
wife is from Columbus, Ohio, and she thinks she's from the Midwest. And that's like, I call that like mid. It's like, midway between, but I guess we're the plain states, the Midwest. Yeah, either way, kind of explain it both ways. We have Hallmark cards here. That's a huge employer. The world headquarters, Hallmark cards was founded here in Kansas City. They may be dying, but
well, at least the channel's not dying, right?
That's right. But people are coming here for jobs. They're coming here for affordable housing. They're coming here because they met someone that was from here, or they were from here. We have a lot of people that come from surrounding, like I've got a couple I just sold a home to that they're moving here from rural Nebraska. Both of them came here for jobs. She's an occupational therapist. She currently works for the university here, and he's in some type of fertilizer sales. And he works for a Japanese company whose world headquarters is in Kansas City for their fertilizer sales. So we have a lot of small business. Kansas City's huge as small business. And just like we learned, right, during the last 60 days, small business makes up more employers and employees than big business does.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of big small businesses here.
So what is the percentage? I mean, you said your business is about 50-50, primary residents versus investors?
No, Kansas versus Missouri.
Oh, Kansas versus Missouri. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. So what would you say the ratio of investors to primary residents?
Probably 90% primary resident.
Okay. And that's your business, or that's citywide?
That's my personal business.
Okay. Now, would you know the ratio of owner occupancy versus renters in the general area?
I don't, but I know that owner occupancy is very high here compared to other parts of the country, and rent is very high, and there's very little available. So rentals, I mean, like market wide, we're at like 95% occupied. And if you look for that small 5%, they're all in certain clusters. It's not like it's here. There's certain areas that are just less desirable.
Right.
But the apartments have gotten so expensive, and they don't have the yard space and things like that. And people, they want to rent a home. And one of my listings today was shown by an investor that was looking to buy it as a rental to cross street from elementary school. So, it's becoming a more expensive market. So I think that the investment opportunities are actually going to be growing, because there are going to be more people that necessarily can't afford to own right now. And so they're going to want to be renting a home versus an apartment.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're kind of seeing that all over the place. Like people from urban areas, not necessarily wanting to buy in these more suburban, potentially, rural areas. They want to test it out first. So
Kansas Cityans want yards. They want space. And I guess it's because land has always been affordable here and plentiful.
Right. Yeah. Well, I did notice a lot of fields. Not so many cows, but a lot of fields.
The cows aren't they're not as abundant as you would think.
That is true. That's a myth about it. And I was thinking it's going to be like flat as a pancake, but it was kind of hilly.
I mean, and it gets real hilly as you go west towards Colorado.
Yeah. So where are people coming from? Like that investor of yours, is he already in the state, or where was he?
So that particular investor is here locally, and he has other investments in that particular city. A woman that works with me, she's my sales partner. She's actually going out this afternoon to show a duplex to one of our clients that works for a Minnesota company, and he happens to have been doing some solar farms in and around the area, actually in Joplin, Missouri, and in Iowa. And we met last fall, and he thinks this is a good place to invest. So we've been looking for the right investment opportunity for him here locally. So like what he's looking at is this property here, which is about $165,000, right? So, what is that? $82,000 a side. So it doesn't take a whole lot to make your mortgage payment, right? So this particular property currently rents gross for about $17,000. So, $850 a side, and he can pick it up at basically a 10% cap rate. There's very low taxes. the landlord isn't doing, oh, I'm going through this and not sharing it with you. I feel like a fool. Hold on. Wow, okay. So here we go.
Okay.
Okay, so let me go back. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
So this property here, this is kind of in it's not urban, but it's closer to the city. It's on the Missouri side. It's in a city called Raytown. So it's actually fairly close to the stadium, so where the Royals and the Chiefs play. And it's probably a C to B minus kind of general area with kind of C to B minus schools if you're like rating like apartments, because they classify things with the letter A, B, C, D. And this property here, I think it's an 80s duplex. It's 165, so $82,000 a side. Rents for $850 a side per month. It's got low taxes, no homes association fees. So, you're going to get a 10% return on this.
That's awesome.
For a $165,000 investment.
And people will rent it like in that condition? Like,
oh yeah, all day long.
Would it, I mean, what is the appreciation like if you were to redo that?
Okay.
How much?
So that's an excellent question. On this kind of thing, the appreciation's not going to be great. It's going to be a cash flow driven investment. I mean, if you held it for 10 years, you'll make some money in appreciation, but it's not going to be big appreciation. And I haven't been in this unit yet. Stacy's actually on her way out to show it this afternoon. But I mean, a place like this, unless it looks a whole lot different than it does in pictures, you could shampoo the carpets, maybe put a little paint on the walls, and you're probably going to keep your existing tenants in place.
So how long do you have to hold it to get a good return, would you say?
On appreciation, probably 10 years.
Okay.
There's not going to be massive appreciation. This is a cash flow investment. A lot of the stuff here is cash flow investments. So I sold a number of properties a couple of years ago that had belonged to the same gentleman for over 40 years. So those were killer deals, right? He had paid 30, 40 grand a piece, and I sold them for 300 a piece. And he had, never touched them and had made $1,500 a side for 40 years. So, but this kind of thing, it's not, this is a different market than a New York or a California or even a Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
This is a cash flow deal. So, you'll make a few $100 a side every month of every year until you decide to sell it. And, if you sold it in 10 years, depending on what happens with the market, you may make another 50 grand on top of it, but you probably made, 15,000 a month a year during the ownership period. So, you're all in, you've done really well on it.
Yeah. Cool.
This is one actually that I was in not too long ago. Let me make sure I'm still sharing the right screen.
So this is a 2-family home, it looks like.
This is also what we call here a duplex. So this is in a better area, better schools. So it rents for more and it sells for more. So this one was on the market for $250 earlier this spring, and it sold for $260. And it rents for about $1,000 a side. So, you're looking at a lower return. So this one sold basically at like a 7.5, almost an 8 cap. But if you look at it, it looks great in pictures, but I don't know if it looks great. It looks okay in pictures. It was trashed, really old heating and cooling. But, there was 4 people to a side, and this had a lot of appreciation, not since this owner had bought it, but a lot of people bought these for, 60 or 80 a side about 10 years ago. So now they're selling for 130 a side. So that's where your appreciation is. But again, it's not California.
No, and that's not what this week is about. More attainable investment opportunities for the people who have a few $100,000, and I would imagine that there's some kind of financing opportunities here as well, where what's the minimum you can expect to put down? Or
so on a property like this, you would put down about $52,000.
Oh my God, these bedrooms are a mess. They remind me of like, they must be like roommates or something like that.
These houses had a ton of children in them, both
Yeah.
of them.
Oh my
And,
God.
you know, it was just, they didn't feel like doing a whole lot of work. But
Yeah.
here's like brand new construction, a fourplex, okay? Brand new construction, fourplex, 575. It's a 10 cap. So they're netting about 57,500 a year on this. This was built
57,000 or 5,700?
57,000. Yep. So this is
Mm-hmm.
57,000. So it's right at 10% returns, all new construction. This particular building was built in 2015. You know, stainless steel appliances, high efficiency heating and cooling, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, where can you go buy something like that?
I mean, not really. Oh, by the way, we've got a visitor on my watching us, somebody you know, who's might be related to me.
Really?
Yeah, I told him, I was like, get on the phone, Jeremy's on. So
I know who that may be.
yeah.
This may be a good property for that maybe person.
Yeah, I mean, this looks awesome. I mean, so you said it's 500, what thousand?
This is 575,000.
575, and you could net 57,000 a year
57,000. Yeah.
after all your expense. That's insane. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. So then
Okay.
like here's one here that I haven't checked the HOAs on it. So let's see. So these HOAs are a little bit higher, but this one is basically, this is also new construction. So these became really hot for retirees because what's happened is a lot of people locally, they're tired of the stairs, and you see this is step free, right? So
Mhm.
they're renting these because they're selling their multi-level homes, and there's nowhere for them to go where they want to live at a price where they, so that let's say they sell their multi-level home for 220, 225, they're going to have to go spend 350 for less square footage in a ranch. Well, they can go rent this for $1,500 a side.
Mhm.
And they can live easy, and somebody cuts the grass and shovels the snow. It's new construction. So this one's already been, these were probably pre-construction pictures or pre-sale pictures, because this particular one is full. There's a lot of people building these, renting them, and then selling them full. So this particular property sells for 320.
What do you think the previous property sold? Like this before they renovated it?
Well, they were selling them for about, they were selling for about 150, 155 a side.
So 155 a side, they do the work, and then they're selling for 320.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but what ended up happening?
Yeah.
What say again?
No, I was just curious, like how much did they spend? I mean, they're not making a whole lot, right? Like,
right. It's just pure cash flow. It's just pure cash flow. There's not going to be a lot of appreciation on this kind of thing. It's too new. But if you sold them off, so you could buy this today. If you bought it for 320, this is another, element you could do, right? You could end up selling them. So what is that? That's that's 160 a side. So you could probably sell these. They're 3-bed, 2-bath. You could probably sell these for about 180 a side today.
But combined, they're 320.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
As a rental, and that's
right.
Tenants in place.
Okay. And do people often buy something like this and then make a single family home?
So this particular developer was selling them like this, rented, and he was also selling them one side unoccupied to homeowners. Because he could sell them for more money to homeowners.
So, okay, so then one side is occupied by the owner and then the other side is a rental. Okay. Yeah. Can you cover the expenses for both sides by renting out just half of it?
Depends on how much money you put down. You wouldn't be too far off.
Interesting.
You wouldn't be too far off. Yeah.
Okay.
One of the problems with the newer construction stuff, like the first one I showed you that was in Raytown in the 160s, had no homes association fee. So when there's no homes association fee, there's a lot more money available. But like
Mhm.
this one, the Homes Association's about $127 a side. So, that cuts into your profit.
Yeah.
And that's for mainly cutting the grass, shoveling the snow, swimming pool, but tenants like those kind of things.
So how many houses share those things? Like, we have
Hundreds,
HOAs, but hundreds? Okay.
hundreds.
Yeah. And
Hundreds.
it's just like a public pool in a
In
center
a
of the
subdivision. Yeah,
in a
it's like a
suburb.
subdivision pool.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We have those in California. Not so much here, but and they're just
Right.
vertical. Very cool.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of those are kind of some new construction versus some, some that have sold. Like this one sold for $215. It was renting for about $2,000 a month. It was built in the 60s. It just kind of gives you an idea, but you can rent it just like this. Like there's no money in putting money into it. Now, if you wanted to buy it, fix it up, and split it out as individual units to sell, you could absolutely make money. But you're not going to get any additional income, not much, on a monthly basis or appreciation basis doing a whole lot of work to these.
Got it. Okay.
But I'll show you this interesting single family too, that I saw. And actually, I think you probably know Anthony Mosley. I was sharing this with him because he was looking at some single family and multifamily rentals in Kansas City. And this one rents for $850 a month, and it's $70,000. So, and it's been all redone on the inside.
So $70,000, let's just say you're putting down 20%. So that's like
14 grand.
14 grand. What do the math. Like, what are the monthlies then?
So let's see, your monthly, I mean, it's going to be like essentially nothing, but let me do the math. Let's see here. So let's say you paid 70,000 and you put down your 20%, and I don't know, let's say that the interest rate was 4. So your taxes are going to be super cheap on this particular. Your taxes are like $1,800 a year. You're going to have a small insurance policy. There's no HOAs. I mean, you're looking at $450 a month. So
Wow.
You're going to cash flow $400 a month, right? So let's see. So we take that 400 times our 12, that's $4,800. In 3 years, you've made back your investment.
That's awesome. Now, what our friend asked, how has the virus and current economy affected the cash flow heavy markets like Kansas City? Last year, properties like this sold super fast.
So the multifamily is still selling very, very quickly. The single family stuff that's in more prime areas are still selling very quickly and for premiums. This property's been on the market 33 days today, which is a pretty long time for something like that. But
so what kind of negotiability do you think there would be?
Well, I think they paid 20 something for it.
And then they gutted it.
They paid $16,000 in January.
And wait a minute. They paid $16,000 in January, and now they want $70,000 in May? What did they do?
They gutted it from top to bottom. I mean, this isn't like, top of the line finishes, but it's been completely redone.
It's nice, yeah.
But I imagine, was that a washing machine in the kitchen?
Oh, we have those here. Yeah. Next to the stove.
But I mean,
I should show you the properties here. We like stick them under the sink. if you're lucky.
Little washing machines.
Oh, they're like shake and bake, like European style, where it's all
okay.
Yeah.
You can wash like a shirt.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's crazy. So talk to me about that kind of investor, and like, is this an investor who, do you know anything about them? Like, are they local? Do they have a portfolio? Like, how would they do that work?
So there's a lot of management companies here locally. We have a lot of Canadian and California investors. So let's see. ownership is some group that was
Agreed.
probably put together in 2017 that probably owns a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what ends up happening is, you know, there's some agents in town that have money people from around the country that they put these packages together for, and they're basically kind of investing in these trusts, give or take. That's probably not the right word. And they go around and they buy these things. So if they purchase this one for 16, they probably put 20 in it. And some of them they flip and some of them they rent. That one, they took the pictures after they finished it before they rented it, and now it's rented for $850 a month. So, I mean, you know, even if you could buy it for 65, you're money ahead. It doesn't take you very long. And if you're making $400 a month, who cares if in 5 years you sell it for 65,000?
Right. That's awesome. So would you say that there are a lot of opportunities like that must have been, how bad do you think that could have been to sell for $16,000? Okay.
I think it had to be terrible. I think if we go back, I don't even think they had, because I looked at this the other day, actually. Yeah, see, there weren't even pictures. See, it started at 41,000. Let's see if there was any pictures in it when it was at 16. Oh yeah, so here's a couple pictures.
We can't, you got to share the screen.
Oh yeah. You gotta.
And then are you like, do you have other other properties that somebody who said, hey, I've got $100,000, I want to, you know, or maybe not, maybe like $500,000, right? Like what kind of package can we put together?
So there's a lot of packages you can buy. If you've got 500,000, there's a lot of packages. I mean, there's a lot of places you can go buy 10, 12 houses. The problem is, you know, I think you've talked to some of your other, I watched your interview with Jared Johnson. You know, if you're paying 10% to manage a regular property, you're not managing a $50,000 property for 10%. So you're going to pay a lot more on your management fee. And so that starts to eat away at some of your profits and things. As you can see, this house was, you know, in pretty rough shape.
It's just a good sledgehammer and you're pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it needed to be cleaned out, but there's a lot of packages you can buy. One of the issues that I've always seen locally is when there is a blip in the economy, when there's a recession, these are the properties that get hurt the worst, because typically the tenants are the ones that get hurt first. And as soon as they leave, the place just kind of goes to the wayside. And so really the best time to collect these type of properties is, you know, when times are tough, fix them up, get them stabilized, and then sell them. Like this kind of stuff was selling for huge money just the last couple of years. And you could pick up 40, 50 of them all day long for, you know, $30,000, $40,000 a piece, put in 10, 15 grand and rent them for $900 a month all day long.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I guess at that point, kind of like what you said with Jared, who owns 76 properties, like if one doesn't appreciate quite as much as the others, it's not like a huge loss.
And it's all cash flow. This kind of thing is cash flow. Yeah. And the guys, the gals, the groups that are buying these locally, they're buying dozens, if not hundreds. And if you take $500 a month and you've got 10 of them, all of a sudden you're making $5,000 a month on a house you paid 50 grand for.
Right. Know. Now, are those people coming in from out of the area, or do they already live like somewhere close by?
The bulk of those buyers are coming from out of town. Yeah, and they're all buying sight unseen.
And where would you say they're coming from, or does it really? Is that
we see the bulk of them coming oddly from California and Canada. A lot of Canadian buyers.
Okay. Interesting. Where in Canada are they coming from?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay.
I don't know, but they're purely buying. They're buying the cash flow because they can't go buy something for $70,000 in California and made $850 a month.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's true in most places. Here, at least, it's close to impossible. So.
Oh, I can't even imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just with the monthlies, it's just not really attainable. So fascinating. Let's go back. You want to stop sharing your screen? We'll see if anybody else has any questions. So, I mean, if you had to kind of summarize, you know, Kansas City, you said the Kansas side is probably more preferred.
It's more expensive.
Lower returns. lower returns. These deals, that $16,000 house was where?
So that was in Kansas City, Missouri.
Missouri. Okay.
Yeah. So like
Okay.
those, I showed you like the new construction, the two new construction multifamilies, they were in Kansas City, Missouri. And then the two, I showed you some older duplexes, they were on the Kansas side. So that's why you saw the differentiation in the price points.
And the rents are very different or within a few $100s?
Generally speaking, your rents will be higher in Kansas,
Mm-hmm.
but your prices are so much lower in Missouri that offsets on your return.
Okay.
Now, something people have to be aware of that are coming to town is January 1st, Kansas City, Missouri enacted a totally new like tenants' rights laws. And so we've been really careful in discussions with our clients about buying in Kansas City, Missouri proper versus buying in one of the outlying suburbs that's adjoining Kansas City, Missouri, because right now there's a lot of tenant advantageous laws in Kansas City, Missouri that makes it really tough. So for instance, you can no longer refuse Section 8. So every property automatically has the ability to become Section 8 in Kansas City, Missouri. And there are some things that are good, right? I mean, not everything's bad, but it makes it hard to be a business person.
Yeah. Which I
Every
find
property has to get an inspection before and after a move in and move out by a city inspector. You have to pay for a permit. It all has to be registered. So probably a lot of things that are going on in the rest of the country.
Oh, I mean, it's big here in the city, so which is just, it's killing it. I mean, I was listening to a conversation yesterday with our board, if you will, and Barbara Corcoran, and somebody asked her, where are you investing your money? And she said, I know I shouldn't say this, but not New York, like literally because of those laws. So do you think it's the tenant groups? Like, how much do you know? Like here, it's the tenant groups that are going to the courthouse, and we as the agents were not really aware of these groups. And so we as the brokers weren't going to fight them, right? We weren't bringing this up until after the fact, right?
Because you've got a big problem now, right? Something with no longer the buyers can't pay the brokerage fees or something.
Yeah, the renters. Yeah, well, that we've thankfully put a hold on that. We'll see where that goes. I mean, I think our market is going to be resetting in a pretty big way, you know, because they've somehow have to keep attracting people to the city, because a lot of people are leaving. And I think this is true for all, you know, for a lot of urban areas. So they're leaving, and then like the landlord now has to pay for all of the fees to then get the tenant in. And it's like a landlord is just getting kind of robbed from all directions. So something's going to have to be done. It's just a matter of time to see, you know, how this shakes out. But I think even with those laws in places like where you're talking, you know, do you think that that's really detrimental to a landlord, to an investor? Like, are they like, forget it, I'm out, I'm going somewhere else?
So we're early, right? Because, you know, it started January 1, and then we had this whole, you know, pandemic problem. So there was 60 days where everybody had other things to worry about. So we've only got 60 so days of experience. I know that there was a lot of concern, and there was kind of some pause as far as, I'm not necessarily going to put it up for sale, or I'm not necessarily going to buy right now in Kansas City proper. So there's been a few changes on that, and we'll just kind of have to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
I personally would be very careful buying in Kansas City proper unless I really understood the rules of the land. The good thing in the state of Missouri, it's much easier to get somebody out of a property, but then Kansas City, Missouri puts their local kibosh on that and kind of slows it down. In Kansas, it's very hard to get someone out of a property.
Okay. So it's already pretty pro-tenant to begin with. Got it. Yeah. As soon as you see something shift, then everybody kind of panics.
Right.
Right.
So I think we're starting to see where it's going to shake out right now.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, this was really helpful. I know we had a few people tuning in. So as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to make an introduction to Jeremy. Jeremy's a good friend. We've been, I have your barbecue sauce in my cabinet here, actually.
We need to send you some more.
I know. Well, you may notice I'm not in Karen's Corner right now. I am currently in Manhattan. So I go back to my little beach shack tomorrow, but I needed to get a little taste of the city. But you've got some great things going on there in Kansas City. No tornadoes, so you don't have to be
No,
worried about it, and some really great opportunities. So if you're thinking about investing even a little bit of money, you know, under $100,000 up to whatever you might have, and you're looking for a portfolio, there are opportunities there. And Jeremy is very well connected there. So you need the vendors, I
absolutely.
imagine, the property managers. You
We've been
are
building and selling homes here since 1986, so we've got lots of connections. And something I was going to tell you is if people are looking for other opportunities, I was looking with some of my clients last night. There's some $20,000 infill urban lots in these brand new urban neighborhoods, $20,000, and people are putting up $4, 5, 6, 7, $800,000 homes, and they're selling them and turning a profit. So these guys I was working with, we just put three lots under contract last night for 20,000 a piece, and we're going to build 3, 4 to $500,000 houses on them. And so that's so they're going to turn their profit that way rather than in rentals. So there's a lot of opportunities, Karen, here in Kansas City, and it's not just flyover country anymore.
no, wait, wait. That was like you like buried the lead just there. So like how much are these homes costing to build?
So you're gonna build there's somewhere between $75,000 and $100,000 a piece in profit.
Wow. Within a few months.
Yeah, 8 months. They're permittable. They're all shovel ready. It was all brownfield, so they scraped all of these houses that had basically kind of fallen to the wayside, and they put in all new streets and utilities, and they're putting in all kinds of apartments and shopping and stuff. And I mean, it's very urban, but they're building really cool kind of California moderns and North Pacific Northwest kind of cottages and stuff, all different kinds of designs. A lot with 2-car garages and alleys in the back and all that kind of stuff.
And these will have outdoor space.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You think urban, you think like Whole Foods down the street.
Yeah,
Right?
these are about a 6,000 square foot lot, which it's not huge, but you'll have, a patio and a garden area.
So they'll go sell those for 300,000 to 500,000. And then what will those rent for?
So we were talking about that last night because these particular ones literally are surrounded by the pharmacy school and the dental school. And a lot of them, what they're doing is they're shacking up there's 4 dental or pharmacy students per unit, and they're paying, $800 per bedroom or whatever. So all of a sudden, you're at a 10 cap again.
So even if you were to hold the land, you don't sell it, you're at barely $100,000 investment.
Right.
Do you think it's bad? Were you recommending that they hold it or that they sell it?
So, it's funny. This same concept was brought to me on a different block, a block over about 3 years ago. And I told these people they were crazy because it had been left over from the downturn. The city had tax abated it and they were eating it, basically all the expenses. And they were going at auction for nothing. Again, 20,000 or less. And I was telling all these people they were crazy, and a bunch of people came in, they bought them up, and they all built up these 5, 6, 7, $800,000 houses. We sold one down there for 410 last week on a $20,000 lot, and then they've created more. So I mean, it's I think as time goes on,
they're going to run
out
of
land. The whole country is more into urbanism, and I don't think you can go wrong. I mean, it's like I told these guys, you're making a $60,000 investment for 3 urban lots. If you don't spend a penny, you can make $100,000 in 3 years. And if you go in and you build these houses and you take a little risk, we're going to make $250,000 in 8 months.
And are they putting the team in place to build the home?
No,
or
we're putting the team in place.
You're putting the team
so
in
they
place.
came to me for the package. So the way that we're going to work with these guys is they're going to put the financing in place, and we're going to help them with the architecturals. We're going to go ahead and project management and get it from concept to contract, and then we'll handle the commission and the real estate for them.
Wow.
So all they have to do is basically put together the financing, and we can help with that too. We do a lot of private financing for home building and things here too.
And so, because I've never done that before. So let's say I have the 20,000 cash. So I'm not getting a mortgage for the land, but I want to get some kind of loan. Like what are the financing options for the construction?
So there's a couple different ways we could go. We could get them private financed with probably about 50 down. So 20,000 plus another 30. And then that person would end up getting probably around 8% interest plus some type of a kicker when the house sold. Or we could go to the bank and probably get them financing at probably 30% of the cost of construction. So, somewhere around, probably 100,000 down or so.
Wow. Sounds like a good opportunity. I have somebody to call after this. I don't know if he's still on, but
those are some interesting deals too. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that exists here that doesn't exist in other places, I think.
What? And it's only because you just have all that land.
The land is what drives. I mean, just like in New York, the land cost drives the price of all of the end units.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, not to let me. You have a second? Let me show you something.
Sure.
So, I think this is kind of crazy. Let me see. I have to find the right one. Give me 1 second. Okay. So, where's the virtual tour? Let me share
this week I'm holding back. I feel like I'm really tempted to just take the money out of the stock market and put it into.
I know you have to hold because it's not dead forever, I don't think.
No, but this is great. Listen, they held on to it. Even the 16,000 purchase is selling it for 70. I mean, and that's been on for about 30 days. Do you think it'll sell?
Oh, they could probably sell it right now for 60 or 65 if they wanted to. But if you only got 25 or 30 in it, you can hold out a long time.
Yeah.
So here's a property that is brand spanking new, $225,000. This property was built on leftover bank-owned ground. So we had a big run on a lot of subdivisions being put in pre-downturn. This is actually something that I personally own. So I own this entire subdivision and I built all these homes. But we can build you one of these brand new for about $215,000, and you can rent it for $1,850 a month. And I mean, they've all got real high efficiency heating and cooling. Low E windows, 9-foot ceilings. There's in here, I don't know if I can actually get far enough into the corner to turn around, walk-in closets, showers with seats. They're not super fancy, but they're extremely well built. And what I was trying to show you is that the cost of the ground is what depicts what the final price of the product can be.
Okay.
So we sell these lots for about $20,000 a piece, and we put on them about a $200,000 home. So this particular house,
but it costs you how much to build that home?
Well, we're live, so I can't go into grave detail.
There is but approximate. So, but okay. So
as an example, it's a very fair margin. It's a very
okay. But you said in the other case it was $20,000 and a potential $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 home.
Yes.
Got it. And you're not spending anywhere close to that to build the home.
No. So those homes, we would project on one of those houses to spend, probably about $220,000, $230,000 was what we would project to spend on one of those $20,000 lots for something we'd sell for $350,000 to $400,000. And if we were going to sell closer to $500,000, right? I mean, welcome to the Midwest.
I know. The Midwest, are you sure? I'm kidding.
Right. I don't know where I am.
Yeah. Well, this is awesome. Well, Jeremy, it's about 1:45. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've always been intrigued by your market, now even more so. So folks, if you have a little bit of money, around, you can buy land and do nothing with it and it'll appreciate. So
absolutely.
Lots of opportunity. We will be back here tomorrow, wrapping up the week with San Antonio. We'll see if our friend Tim could beat these opportunities.
Tim's got incredible opportunities, and I definitely want to tune in for that.
All right. Well, great. Well, we will see you and we will see everybody else tomorrow. And if you want to watch this, I will get it up on YouTube by this weekend. So
thanks so much.
Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Jeremy, for joining me.
Thank you.
Have a great one. All right. And be safe.
Okay. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.